A torrential downpour raged, punctuated by flashes of lightning and rumbles of thunder. Rain Dawson huddled inside her office building, shivering from the cold. Ethan Montgomery sent her a text. "Wait for me, I'll be there to pick you up soon," Rain replied. "Okay, hurry." But the moment her phone screen went dark, the words that flooded her heart were, "This time, please don't let me down again, Ethan." A colleague passing by saw she didn't have an umbrella and offered to give her a ride home. She hated troubling others, so she immediately refused. "No need to bother, my husband is coming to get me." "Your husband is so good to you, coming to pick you up in a storm like this." "Not like mine, he's never once come to my office to get me." Rain just shook her head with a bitter smile and said nothing more. Good to me, maybe he was in the beginning. To outsiders, they were indeed a loving couple, but only she knew that Ethan had cheated on her long ago. In the end, she was disappointed yet again. She waited for a full 2 hours, but there was no sign of Ethan. She made several more calls, but no one answered. He had let her down, just like always. She couldn't remember how many times this had happened. It seemed she had grown used to being treated this way, and Ethan had grown even more used to abandoning her at crucial moments. He wouldn't even send a single message to explain why he'd stood her up. It was hard to say whether she felt more disappointment or resignation. Rain wrapped her coat tighter and hailed a ride share. The car pulled over on the side of the road, and she had no choice but to dash through the rain to get to it. By the time she was in the car, she was soaked to the bone. When she returned to their villa, the housekeeper had a bath ready for her. "Mrs. Montgomery, why didn't you come back with Mr. Montgomery? Wasn't he going to pick you up? I don't know." Rain couldn't be bothered to explain. In her heart, she knew the truth. He had gone to the hospital with his young assistant, Judy Mills. She had seen it on the assistant's social media feed while sitting in the back of the car. Judy had posted a picture of herself on an IV drip. In the background, a man was at the counter paying the bill. It was unmistakably Ethan's back. Beneath the photo was a caption, "Thank you, my dear President, for braving the storm to take me to the hospital." XOXO, a chill ran through Rain's limbs. She wasn't sure if it was from the cold of the raging storm or if the post had frozen her heart. Soaking in the hot water, she finally felt alive again. In that moment, her mind was crystal clear. It was time to end it. There was no point in continuing this rotten relationship. Perhaps she should have left the moment she first discovered the signs. The instant she found out Ethan was cheating, she knew her marriage was over. She liked things clean. How could she possibly pick up something that was already so dirty? But she hadn't confronted Ethan, nor had she caused a scene at his company or gone after the little assistant. She was just waiting. Waiting for her heart to die completely, for her feelings to detach entirely from the relationship. After she finished her bath and returned to the bedroom, ready for sleep, she found Ethan had returned. His hair was damp and messy. It looked like he had also been caught in the rain. "Wifey, I'm so sorry. Something came up at the company last minute, and I had to turn back." He watched her reaction with such caution, apologizing with a look of sincere panic, as if he truly cared about her. And yet, this was the man who had betrayed her. Rain took a step back, avoiding his outstretched hand. She sat down at her vanity and began applying her skincare products. "Is the company going bankrupt?" "What? That it requires you, the president, to be so busy you can't even touch the ground, rushing to solve problems. Are all the employees at your company that incompetent?" Ethan assumed she was still angry about being stood up. He tried to coax her. "Wifey, don't be angry. I'll fire those incompetent employees tomorrow." "Could you bear to do it?" Rain asked, her words laced with a double meaning. Ethan didn't catch her drift and continued trying to appease her. "Why wouldn't I? Anything to make you feel better." He smiled, bending down to wrap an arm around her, the warm air from his breath tickling the back of her ear. "Her too? Could you bear to part with her?" "Who?" "Your little assistant. I hear she's been making frequent mistakes at the company, often delivering the wrong documents. She's just a young girl who recently graduated. It's normal for her to be a bit lacking in experience." His every word dripped with a protective and indulgent tone. Ethan Montgomery was a man who couldn't tolerate any imperfection. His previous personal assistant had been fired without a second thought for delivering the wrong file just once. But now, a new, bumbling assistant, less competent than her predecessor, had managed to win his favor. That alone spoke volumes. Unfortunately, Rain had been blind to it all, so lost in the web of romantic lies Ethan had spun that she hadn't noticed a thing. Looking at Ethan, who was still blissfully unaware, a happy smile on his face as he complained to her about his assistant's clumsy antics, Rain felt a sense of surreal displacement. She might be a bit clumsy, but she's hardworking and eager to learn. The company needs newcomers who are willing to learn like her. Rain chuckled. I never knew you were such a philanthropist. Your company has become a school. At her words, Ethan paused, then a playful smile spread across his face. Oh, is my wifey getting jealous, A part of him was secretly thrilled. Don't worry, wifey. My heart only has room for you. I only love you. No one else means anything to me. Love, how ironic. In the past, hearing Ethan say he loved her would have moved her to joy. Now, it just felt pathetic and laughable. Rain couldn't understand how the man before her could say he loved her while carrying on an affair with someone else. How could he split his heart in two? That kind of love was something she, Rain Dawson, couldn't afford, and she no longer wanted it. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. She pulled her hand from Ethan's grasp and lay down on the bed. Okay, then you get some rest. Ethan didn't think much of it, assuming her coldness was due to catching a chill. He turned and went to take a shower. The next morning, when Rain woke up, Ethan was already gone. She left the house and went to a jeweler's shop. Ma'am, are you sure you want to melt this ring down? Of course. Rain's expression was perfectly calm. The ring wasn't particularly valuable, just a simple metal band. It was the ring Ethan had bought her when he was just starting his business. Back then, the Montgomery family was in crisis, and they were struggling financially. Just buying a pair of wedding bands meant saving for a long time and eating instant noodles for days. But Rain never felt that life was bitter. At least then, their love was genuine, without all the complicated deceptions. The clerk felt it was a pity. She saw the initials of two names engraved on the inner band. It was clearly a wedding ring of great significance. Are you absolutely sure? This is a wedding ring. Rain nodded. Melt it down. This ring has no meaning anymore. The clerk sighed but said no more and began the process. Watching the ring gradually soften and deform under the intense heat of the flame until it became a liquid, Rain's heart seemed to open up. There wasn't much pain, but there was a sense of regret. After all, it was a part of her life. As she was leaving the shop, her phone rang. It was Ethan. Rain let out a cold, sharp laugh. She didn't answer immediately, instead stopping to stare at the caller ID for a long moment. The oh-so-busy Ethan Montgomery was actually deigning to call her. Since his company went public, how long had it been since she'd had a proper conversation with him? Her texts were always answered a day or two late, and her calls were either immediately declined or picked up after a long delay. Every time, Ethan would tell her he was too busy, that he had no time to reply. Was he really that busy? Yet he had time for candlelit dinners with his little assistant, time to attend her graduation ceremony, time to go to her birthday party, and even time to squeeze in a trip to an amusement park with her. He just couldn't find any time for her. The phone was still ringing. She snapped out of her thoughts and answered. What is it? Wifey, why did it take you so long to answer? Rain clutched the small box in her hand, the box containing the newly melted ring. Busy. She had become so stingy with her words for Ethan that she couldn't even be bothered to find an excuse. Ethan vaguely sensed something was off about her today. She seemed unusually cold. But he didn't dwell on it, just assuming it was her time of the month. He teased, Wifey in a bad mood? Did your period come? Rain took a deep breath. Her period wasn't due, and now Ethan couldn't even remember that. In the past, when she was on her period, Ethan would thoughtfully prepare her ginger tea and gently rub her stomach. But at some point, he had stopped doing all those things. He couldn't even remember her cycle anymore. As the company grew, he got busier and busier, so busy that he couldn't spare a single second of his energy on her. Rain tried to understand his difficulties. Countless nights spent alone in an empty house, she would tell herself not to hold him back, that Ethan was just too busy. The company had just gone public, and things were complicated. She never imagined that her understanding and consideration would turn her into a joke. If it weren't for accidentally seeing a post on his assistant's feed that was visible only to her, Rain would have remained completely in the dark. She remembered it was their 6th wedding anniversary. She had prepared a table full of food early in the morning, waiting for Ethan. Instead, she received a message from him. Something came up at the company, can't make it home tonight. She was naturally disappointed, but understood that his work was demanding. She replied considerately, "Okay." But just as she finished clearing the table and sat down on the sofa to scroll through her feed, she saw a 9-photo collage posted by Ethan's new assistant, Judy Mills. Every picture was of a candlelit dinner. The man sitting across from her showed only one hand, raising a glass of champagne. He was wearing a simple metal ring. She felt like she'd been struck by lightning, frozen in place, staring in disbelief at the hand in the photo. Rain could tell with just one glance that the hand belonged to Ethan. The man who claimed to be busy at work, who missed their wedding anniversary, was having a candlelit dinner with another woman. Wifey, are you listening?" Ethan's voice came from the other end of the line, pulling her back from her thoughts when she didn't respond. Rain's focus returned. She replied casually, "Yes, what is it?" Ethan, oblivious to her mood, spoke in a light, cheerful tone. "We have to go to the family estate tonight for a family dinner. You should get ready." The family estate? They were probably just going to nag her about having a baby again. Rain didn't want to go. She was about to leave Ethan, and she couldn't be bothered to deal with such trivial matters. "I'm busy tonight, so I won't be going." "Wifey, that's not a good idea. My aunt is coming back tonight. She rarely comes back, so we have to go, no matter what." Ethan had an aunt who was a famous actress in the Hong Kong film industry. Rain had a very good impression of this aunt. People always yearn for what they don't have. Rain greatly admired Aunt Luna's wild and free beauty. Still, Rain nodded. Okay. It would still take some time for her visa to be processed. For now, it was best to act as if nothing had happened and avoid any complications. "Wait for me at home. I'll be back early today." "Got it." Rain's reply was still perfunctory. As she crossed the street, she hung up the phone without another word. "Wifey, you—" Ethan had more to say, but the call was abruptly disconnected. The smile vanished from his face, leaving him bewildered. He was usually the one to hang up first. When had Rain ever treated him like this? Was she angry because he had been busy with other things lately and hadn't paid her enough attention? As he was stewing in his thoughts, his assistant, Judy Mills, pushed the door open. She swayed in with her graceful figure, and as she bent over, her ample cleavage was on full display. "Boss, please take a look at this document." Normally, Ethan would have enjoyed the view, but right now, he was worried about Rain and was in no mood to flirt with her. "Prepare a gift for my wife for me." Judy pouted, a hint of jealousy in her tone. "You're so good to your wife, boss." Ethan shrugged dismissively. "She's my wife. Who else would I be good to? I'm warning you, not a single hint of our relationship can get back to my wife, or you'll regret it." I know. You're so fierce." In the evening, Rain waited downstairs. After a long while, she still hadn't seen Ethan's car. She made several calls to him, but he didn't answer. She was growing impatient, her face darkening. She was about to leave him, yet she was still willing to be civil and accompany him to a family dinner. She had already gone above and beyond. She never expected Ethan to break his promises again and again, to keep toying with her. Just as she was bottling up her anger and about to head to the garage to drive herself to the estate, she caught a glimpse of Ethan's car finally pulling up. She took a deep breath, trying to rein in her temper. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth getting angry over Ethan. Since I'm leaving anyway, I'll just consider this an act of charity. When the car stopped, she went to open the passenger side door. As the door opened, she saw that the seat was already occupied. Judy Mills was sitting there. Rain looked at Ethan in astonishment. Even though she knew Ethan was cheating, she never imagined he would be so brazen as to have his assistant in front of her, sitting in the passenger seat, even bringing her along to a family dinner. Ethan's expression was a little unnatural. "Well, Aunt Luna is back for the dinner, you know. She's a movie star and Judy's idol, so I thought I'd bring her along to meet her." Judy sat motionless in the passenger seat and gave Rain a mischievous wink. "Mrs. Montgomery, I get carsick. You don't mind if I sit here, do you?" The thing was, Rain got carsick too, and Ethan knew this. Rain instinctively looked at Ethan. He said nothing, which meant he approved of his assistant sitting in the front. Had he forgotten that she also got carsick? The immense anger she might have once felt had been worn down by everything that had happened recently. She didn't feel particularly angry, she even laughed out loud. All right, in that case, the passenger seat is all yours, little assistant. With that, she slammed the car door shut, ignoring their reactions. She didn't even bother to open the back door, instead striding quickly toward the garage. There were plenty of cars in the garage. She had no need to make things miserable for herself by squeezing into the same car with them. It was only then that Ethan finally realized she was angry. He quickly got out of the car and chased after her. Is this really necessary, wifey? It's just the passenger seat. Judy gets carsick, that's why I let her sit there. He grabbed Rain's hand, his brow furrowed. Though his tone was still gentle, the blame in his eyes was hard to ignore. Judy also got out of the car at that moment, her eyes glistening with tears. I'm sorry, Mrs. Montgomery, I didn't realize you would mind so much. Maybe I shouldn't go to the estate after all. As she spoke, she lowered her head, putting on a perfect display of someone wronged and willing to compromise. No, you don't have to. I promised I'd take you, so I will. Ethan looked at her with pity, then turned back to Rain, his brow tightly knitted, clearly disapproving of her tantrum today. Rain shook off his hand and glanced nonchalantly at the time. Let's not waste any more time. We should get going. Rain, I get carsick too. Rain cut him off. She had no intention of getting entangled with him further. The three of them making a scene in front of the villa would only make them a laughingstock. Ethan's eyes widened. He had just remembered that she also got carsick, and his face changed dramatically. He had been neglecting Rain so much lately that he had forgotten something so important. He felt a pang of guilt and walked over, flustered, wanting to take her hand again. Rain waved him away impatiently. That's enough, let's just go. Without waiting for their reactions, she walked directly into the garage and drove a car out. When her car pulled out, she saw Ethan and Judy still standing outside. Judy bit her lip and glared at her. Ethan, on the other hand, looked at her like a child who had done something wrong. Perhaps feeling guilty, Ethan didn't say anything more. In the end, Rain drove her own car, with Ethan following behind, Judy in his passenger seat. When they arrived and the staff saw this scene, they exchanged confused glances. Judy, seemingly oblivious to the awkwardness, bounced around excitedly, looking everywhere. Ethan came over to take Rain's hand. This time, she didn't pull away. They were at the family estate. They might as well maintain some semblance of dignity for each other. Thinking she was no longer angry, Ethan breathed a silent sigh of relief. Let's go in, wifey. Behind them, Judy stomped her foot in frustration. When they entered the living room, Arthur, Helen, and Aunt Luna were already there. They were all a bit puzzled by the presence of a third person. Why was a stranger at a family dinner? And from the looks on their faces, something seemed off. Of course, they couldn't press for details in front of an outsider. Helen asked politely, "And this is?" "She's my assistant and also a big fan of Aunt Luna's." Ethan quickly explained, his protective tone obvious, as if he was afraid Judy would be embarrassed if he were a second too slow. Arthur and Helen exchanged a meaningful glance, then couldn't help but look at Rain. Seeing her calm and unfazed expression, Helen, who had witnessed too many secrets of the wealthy, frowned. She felt that her daughter-in-law's reaction was not right. Oh well, it's their business. It's better for me as an elder not to interfere. Helen sighed. All right, let's all take a seat. The food is ready and we were just waiting for you. Arthur also quickly instructed the servants to bring out the dishes, and the hall buzzed with activity. Unlike Arthur and Helen, Aunt Luna didn't come forward to greet them. She sat where she was, smiling as she sipped her red wine, her face flushed. Once the food was served, they began to take their seats. Rain had been quiet since she entered the hall, sitting silently in her place without a word. She seemed completely oblivious to the undercurrents between Ethan and Judy, just sitting there in a daze. Finally, Aunt Luna slowly walked over. Seeing her approach, Judy became very excited. Hello, Goddess Luna. I'm Judy, a huge fan of yours. As she spoke, Judy looked up and exchanged a smile with Ethan. Thank you, boss. Otherwise, I would never have had the chance to meet the goddess herself. Although she claimed to be Luna's fan, her eyes and attention were constantly on Ethan. Aunt Luna turned to look at Rain. Seeing her unruffled expression, she immediately sensed something was wrong and frowned slightly. A fan of mine? Yes. Aunt Luna suddenly gave a sly smile. Ever since you walked in, your eyes have been fixed on Ethan. You've barely glanced at me. If you hadn't said you were my fan, I would have thought you were in love with him. Her words instantly froze the atmosphere at the dinner table. The two of them already had an ambiguous relationship, and with Luna pointing it out so directly, their expressions became even more awkward and unnatural. Ethan instinctively glanced at Rain and was secretly relieved to see she had no reaction. "Aunt Luna, you can't just say things like that." Arthur and Helen quickly stepped in to smooth things over. "Luna, how old are you? Still bullying your nephew? Didn't you get enough of it when you were kids?" Luna was a late-in-life child, only a year older than Ethan. They grew up together, and when they were young, Luna often used her seniority to boss Ethan around, being quite headstrong and willful. Ethan used to complain to Rain about his aunt all the time when they first started dating. "Who's bullying him?" Luna pouted and grumbled in dissatisfaction. "All right, you're the elder. You should give in to the younger generation." The playful bickering finally eased the tension. Rain remained silent, her head down as she ate. Just then, Ethan quietly grabbed her hand under the table and whispered, "My aunt is just outrageous. She'll say anything." "Outrageous? Your aunt isn't outrageous. She has eagle eyes." Rain silently retorted in her mind, trying to pull her hand back, but Ethan held it tight. Judy watched their little interaction from the side, grinding her teeth in frustration. After dinner, Judy left. As they were getting ready for bed, Ethan's phone suddenly rang. Rain glanced curiously at Ethan and saw that the corners of his lips couldn't suppress a smile when he saw the caller ID. It was an indulgent, joyful smile with a hint of nervousness. Rain thought to herself that he must have quickly silenced his phone because he was afraid she would see. Her presence was getting in the way of his lovey-dovey time with Judy, but she couldn't be bothered to expose him. She turned and went to take a shower. When she came out, Ethan was not in the room, but his social media account was still logged in on the computer, synced with his phone. Look at that. He was usually so cautious, but now he was so excited he'd lost his senses, not even logging out before running off somewhere. As she saw the chat history scrolling up, she finally knew where Ethan had gone. He had gone to reply to messages. He was afraid she would be in the way. The person on the other end was named Diddy is the cutest. "Ethan, you home? Diddy is the cutest. Reporting to my dear president, just got home." "Ethan, good, get some rest. We have a busy day tomorrow, you need to take care of yourself." "Diddy is the cutest. My president is such a beast, going to ravage me again tomorrow." "Ethan, who told you to be such a tramp? You're so good at seducing men, of course I have to satisfy you." "Diddy is the cutest." "Okay, Diddy will take good care of herself. I'll be waiting for my president in the office tomorrow, wearing stockings." "Ethan, HMPH, you little slut." The conversation was so vulgar, filled with filth. Rain couldn't imagine that the usually proper-looking Ethan had such a side to him. She felt a chill run through her entire body. Just then, her phone suddenly received a flood of pictures from many unknown numbers. They were all intimate photos of Ethan and Judy, shockingly explicit. Rain felt so nauseous she could have dry heaved, her whole body trembling. Just as she was about to fall asleep, Ethan finally returned. He reached out and pulled Rain into his arms, murmuring in a low voice, "Wifey, I love you." Rain dug her nails into her palm, those obscene chat logs replaying endlessly in her mind. She couldn't stand Ethan's touch any longer. She shot up from the bed. "I don't feel well, don't get too close to me." "Where don't you feel well?" Ethan reached out to touch her forehead, but she blocked his hand. The word stockings echoed in her mind. Her thoughts flashed back to the pair of stockings she once saw in the crevice of the passenger seat. Did they do it in the car too? Suddenly, a wave of nausea washed over her. She rushed to the bathroom and threw up violently. Ethan stood by, frantic. He hurried over to check on her. "What's wrong with you? Where does it hurt?" After Rain finished throwing up and washing up, it still took her a long time to recover. She turned and looked at Ethan. He was watching her with such worry, already on the phone with the family doctor because she was unwell. And yet, this same man who seemed so concerned about her had cheated. He had recklessly indulged in his desires with another woman. "No, you don't need to call a doctor." She ignored him and went straight back to bed. She was so tired. Her body was tired, and her heart was even more so. Rain really didn't understand. Wasn't Ethan afraid she would find out? Wasn't he afraid that when everything came to light, she, Rain Dawson, would leave him? Did he not care whether she left, or did he just assume that no matter how he mistreated her, she would never leave? Or perhaps Ethan thought he had covered his tracks well enough to hide it from her for a lifetime. When the mattress dipped as Ethan lay down beside her, Rain's mind cleared considerably. "Are you really okay? You've been saying you don't feel well these past few days, and you've been acting strangely. I'm still worried. Let me take you to the hospital tomorrow morning." "No, it's probably just something I ate." Of course, Rain couldn't let Ethan take her to the hospital because she was pregnant. Since a divorce was imminent, the child couldn't be kept. She had no intention of having this baby, and she certainly had no intention of letting Ethan know, lest it create more trouble. "I'm still worried. I'll go with you to the hospital after work tomorrow." "Be good." Rain let out a cold laugh, a mischievous idea suddenly popping into her head. "Sure, then I'll go to the company with you tomorrow morning. I'll wait for you at the office, and then we can go to the hospital together." Ethan never expected her to suggest going to his company. She almost never did. Rain had her own job at an advertising agency. It was quite far from Ethan's company. Because of the distance, Rain rarely went to his office to see him. Ethan's expression was a bit strange. He forced a smile. "Won't that be too boring for you? The company is very busy. I'm afraid you'll be on your own." "That's fine. I'll just sit in your office and watch some videos to pass the time." Rain suddenly smiled slyly. "You seem so reluctant for me to go. Are you hiding something in your office that you don't want me to see?" "How could that be? Wifey, don't pick up bad habits from Aunt Luna and say such things. You know how I feel about you." He explained too quickly, too much. Ethan probably didn't even realize how flustered he looked. "Wifey, I'm going to take a shower. You should get some rest." The next day, "Wifey, you need to eat a good breakfast." Rain nodded, saying nothing more. She truly felt she had nothing left to say to Ethan. As she ate her breakfast with her head down, Ethan occasionally glanced at his phone to reply to messages, a slight, indulgent smile on his lips that he probably wasn't even aware of. Rain didn't even need to think to know that the person texting Ethan was Judy. He could reply to messages while still having the energy to peel an egg for her. Rain pretended not to know anything, took the egg, and said no more. The breakfast was unusually silent. After they finished, they got up and headed to the company. As soon as they arrived, employees eagerly gathered around. "Good morning, Mrs. Montgomery. Mrs. Montgomery, you look beautiful. The boss is so lucky, no wonder he's always talking about his wife. You're more beautiful than any movie star." Rain knew it was just flattery and didn't take it seriously. Ethan put his arm around Rain. All right, back to work, everyone." Seeing the crowd gathered around but no sign of Judy, Rain suddenly asked, "Where is your little assistant? Why isn't she at her post during work hours?" At her question, everyone's expression shifted. They exchanged uneasy glances, and no one dared to speak. Just as Ethan was about to explain, a young intern slowly raised her hand. "I saw Judy go to the restroom just now. I think she might not be feeling well." Rain sneered inwardly, not feeling well. More like she saw me coming and scrambled to hide. "All right, wifey, you go rest in my office for a bit." "Okay." Rain didn't dwell on the matter. She just wanted to scare Ethan a little, to enjoy seeing him nervous. Ethan took her to his office, arranged for an employee to look after her, and then left, saying he was busy with work. She didn't stay in the office for long before she left too. She had never intended to waste a whole day in Ethan's office. With her plans to go abroad, she had a lot to do. Rain went to her advertising agency and handed her resignation letter to her boss. "You're resigning? Have you thought this through? It's not easy to find a job right now." "Yes, I've thought it through. I'm planning to go abroad." Her boss didn't try to persuade her further and approved her resignation. "Well then, I wish you a vibrant and colorful life abroad." "Thank you." She returned to her desk to hand over her work. By the time she was done, it was already 3 in the afternoon. Ethan finally noticed she was gone and called her. "Wifey, did something happen? Why did you leave?" Rain was packing her things and replied perfunctorily, "It's nothing. I was just bored, so I went out for a walk." But who goes out for a walk for nearly 8 hours? Ethan still sensed something was wrong. "Where are you? I'll come pick you up. We need to go to the hospital." "No need, I already went. It's nothing serious, just something I ate." "Then, how about we go grab something to eat together?" In the 8 hours she was gone, was Ethan really busy with work? Of course not. While Rain was busy with her work handover, she had received a provocative message from Judy. "Mrs. Montgomery, Guess what the boss is doing right now? Guess where he went after leaving you alone in the office. It was followed by several photos, taken from a clandestine angle. There were pictures of the two of them embracing in a restroom, kissing passionately, and even more explicit ones. Rain's expression remained blank. She swiftly saved the photos and continued with her work. I've already eaten. I'm heading home. You go ahead and do your thing, don't worry about me. With that, she hung up and started booking an abortion appointment online. Her passport would be ready soon. She had to take care of the baby in her belly before then. But unexpectedly, Ethan still found her. As soon as she left her company, she saw Ethan leaning against his car, his handsome face attracting a lot of attention. Rain sighed. She remembered how she too was first drawn to him by that same look, falling for him at first sight. What are you doing here? I was worried about you. I'm a grown woman. What's there to be worried about? Ethan couldn't quite put his finger on what was wrong. He had been feeling uneasy for the past few days, finding everything about Rain strange. Let's go. Let's get something to eat. His gaze suddenly fell on the cardboard box Rain was holding, which contained the personal items she had taken from her office. What's this? I resigned. Rain didn't hide it. There was no need to. Ethan wouldn't overthink it anyway. His heart had already drifted away, so why would he scrutinize her recent actions? That's fine too. You can just rest. You don't have to work so hard. Your husband can support you. She nodded perfunctorily. She opened the back door of the car and was about to get in, but Ethan frowned and stopped her. Wifey, why aren't you sitting in the passenger seat? At the mention of the passenger seat, that feeling of nausea returned. Why? How does he have the nerve to ask why? Because it's disgusting, of course. She forcefully suppressed her discomfort. I think the back is more spacious. The excuse was so casual and flimsy that it deepened Ethan's unease. Is it because of what happened last time, with Judy sitting in the passenger seat? Don't overthink it. They didn't speak again for the rest of the ride, the atmosphere palpably awkward. When they arrived at their destination, Rain realized it was a Western restaurant. Oh, she remembered. On their last wedding anniversary, Ethan and Judy had their candlelit dinner here. He brought her here right after taking his mistress. Ethan really knew how to disgust her. Instantly, her expression soured, and even her view of the restaurant became tainted. Is the food here good? Her tone was cold, tinged with disgust. Ethan, however, perked up at the question, his eyes lighting up as if recalling some wonderful memory. It's delicious. I come here often. You come here often. How did I not know that? Ethan froze, realizing he had misspoken. I mean, I often bring employees here for team dinners. I'm sorry, wifey, I've been too busy and have neglected you lately. Rain raised an eyebrow and smiled knowingly. She suddenly found a bit of dark amusement in this. She knew the answer but loved to ask anyway, just to scare Ethan and watch him scramble for an explanation. It gave her a small thrill of revenge. Sitting in the restaurant, they were both quiet, eating with their heads down. Suddenly, she dry-heaved again. It wasn't just because of the photos and the filthy words, but also because of her pregnancy, which made the nausea even worse. Seeing her like this, Ethan became very worried. He quickly came over and gently patted her back. What on earth did you eat? You can't be so careless in the future. I'm not a 3-year-old. Wifey, you have to take this seriously. You can't just dismiss it. You've been throwing up for days. Do you know how worried I am? Seeing him like this, Rain suddenly looked at him seriously. This is our 7th year of marriage. In the old saying, it's the 7-year itch. What nonsense are you talking about? We'd never have a 7-year itch. Rain took a gulp of water and asked lightly, are you that confident that we don't have a 7-year itch? Of course, we love each other. How could we have a 7-year itch? The so-called 7-year itch is just an excuse for people who aren't faithful to their relationships. It's just a grandiose reason they find for their wandering affections. Ethan scoffed, sitting there criticizing everyone who was unfaithful. Rain found it laughable. Did Ethan really see himself as some kind of devoted, great lover? Ethan, in a few days, I'm going to give you a gift. What gift? Why a gift? Is there some holiday coming up? Ethan was confused, his brow furrowed as he tried to think of the occasion. Look at him. He'd forgotten again. He didn't remember their anniversary last year, and he didn't remember it this year. She remembered last year, after Ethan came back from his candlelit dinner with Judy, he found her on the sofa with red, swollen eyes. He had been startled, repeatedly asking if someone had bullied her. When she told him it was their wedding anniversary, the expression on Ethan's face was a sight to behold: shock, regret, and deep confusion. Even he couldn't believe he had completely forgotten their anniversary and had gone out for a candlelit dinner with another woman. He cried in front of her, full of guilt. That was the first time Rain had ever seen Ethan cry. He had held her tightly then, promising he would never forget again. Rain raised an eyebrow and glanced at the ring finger of her left hand. The spot where her ring used to be was now empty, with only a faint indentation left. So many days had passed, and Ethan was only just now noticing how little attention he paid her. When she didn't answer, Ethan grew more anxious. "Wifey, are you hiding something from me?" "No, you're overthinking it. As for the ring, I think I've gained some weight, and it felt a bit uncomfortable." Hearing her answer, Ethan finally breathed a sigh of relief. "I'll have someone resize it in a little while." Just as he was speaking, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, then instinctively looked at Rain. Seeing that her attention wasn't on him, he relaxed and immediately declined the call. But the phone was relentless, ringing several more times. Ethan was getting annoyed. Rain could guess who it was. "Aren't you going to answer?" "No need, it's just a spam call." He said that, but for a long time afterward, Ethan was distracted. After the meal, Ethan said he had something to attend to at the company and had to go back. "Okay, you go ahead." Rain nodded, not saying much. "I'll get a ride home myself." "Thanks for understanding, wifey." With that, Ethan drove off. After he left, Rain had intended to go straight home, but she suddenly realized she had left her purse in Ethan's car. She called Ethan, but no one answered for a long time. She tried several more times, but still, no one picked up. She ran a hand through her hair in frustration. Her pregnancy report was in that purse. It would be trouble if Ethan saw it. Without a second thought, Rain quickly hailed a car and rushed to Ethan's company. When she arrived, she didn't see Ethan. Instead, she was surrounded by a group of people. It was almost the end of the workday, and the employees were relaxed and in the mood for gossip. They led her to Ethan's office. A few company veterans heard she was there and hurried over, fawning, "Mrs. Montgomery, I heard you enjoy tea. I'll make you a cup right away." "Are you hot? Should I turn up the air conditioning?" One doesn't hit a smiling face. Rain was polite to them as well. "No need to trouble yourselves. You can go about your business, don't mind me." Knowing she liked to watch dramas, an enthusiastic employee thoughtfully found a show for her on Ethan's computer. "Do you have a preference for any particular show, Mrs. Montgomery?" "This is fine. Yes, and please tell Ethan I'm here. I need to see him about something." A senior executive nodded respectfully. "Rest assured, Mrs. Montgomery. Mr. Montgomery is in a meeting. I'll inform him as soon as it's over." "Okay, you can all get back to work." Looking around, she still didn't see any sign of Judy. Rain deliberately called out to the executives who were about to leave. "By the way, where is Ethan's personal assistant? I've been here twice today and haven't seen her." At her question, the group's expressions instantly became awkward and uncomfortable. The atmosphere froze. One executive, feigning composure, said, "Assistant Mills might not be feeling well today. She's been running to the restroom a lot." What a convenient excuse. Rain didn't expose the lie, just smiled and nodded. After everyone left, she sat bored in the office, waiting. She began to look around the office with some interest. On the desk was a photo of her and Ethan. In the picture, both of them were smiling sweetly, with eyes only for each other. But in reality, one was betraying and the other was escaping. As she was lost in thought, she noticed a phone left on the desk. It must have belonged to one of the employees from earlier. She hurried to catch up with them, but heard a few employees whispering in a corner. "Mr. Montgomery is really something else. His wife is here and he's still playing around?" "You bet. He's having a great time. It's been an hour and the noise from inside hasn't stopped." Assistant Mills is amazing, too. She's got Mr. Montgomery completely wrapped around her finger. Just now, I saw him heading up to the rooftop with a whole box of condoms in his hand. Tisk, tisk. They were fooling around in the restroom this morning, and now they're up on the rooftop. Rain froze. She suddenly understood that he wasn't in a meeting. He was fooling around with his little assistant. He had just finished dinner with her and then rushed back to the company. He was so impatient. It seemed he was really looking forward to his rendezvous with Judy. "Do you guys think the little assistant will successfully climb the ladder?" "Probably not. Mr. Montgomery still seems to care a lot about his wife. He loves his wife. He's probably just playing around with Judy, not serious about her. Love. He's cheating. How can you talk about love? I think it's a compensation mentality. What compensation mentality? After cheating, people feel guilty and remorseful. To alleviate that guilt, the cheater will often be nicer and more considerate to their partner afterward. That makes sense. Mrs. Montgomery seems so easy to trick and pacify. A few sweet words and she believes him. Besides, for a man of Mr. Montgomery's status, who doesn't have a few mistresses on the side, with power and influence, it's only natural to have a wife at home and a few red flags waving outside. These words plunged Rain into an icy abyss, her hands and feet turning cold. She had become a joke. Thanks to Ethan, she, Rain Dawson, had become everyone's joke. She turned and went back to the office. As she sat in the chair, her hand gently rested on her stomach, her gaze growing more determined. If she had been secretly hesitating about whether to secretly have this child, now Rain had no intention of keeping it at all. She was incredibly grateful that she and Ethan had been married for years without children. At first, it was Ethan who said he wanted to enjoy a few more years of just the two of them, so they used contraception. Later, when they stopped, she couldn't get pregnant. It wasn't until she discovered his affair that she started rejecting Ethan's advances, not wanting to be intimate with him. This child was conceived by accident one night when she was drunk and Ethan took her home. When she first found out she was pregnant, she had naively thought that perhaps this child was a gift from heaven, that perhaps heaven couldn't bear to see her so lonely and gave her a family member connected by blood. Rain was an orphan. She cherished and looked forward to this child. But everything that had happened recently made her realize, if she couldn't give the child a complete family, wouldn't it be too cruel to bring him into the world? Just as she was thinking, the office door was pushed open. Ethan walked in. As he got closer, Rain could smell the faint scent of a woman's perfume on him. "Wifey, what are you doing here? I just finished my meeting. Have you been waiting long?" His words were gentle and natural, with no hint of discomfort, as if he had really just come from a meeting and not from a secret tryst. "My purse is in your car. Why go through the trouble of coming all this way? You could have just called me and I would have brought it back to you." Rain looked up at him directly. "I did call. You didn't answer." Ethan froze. Of course, he hadn't answered. He had no idea Rain had called him so many times. Whenever he was with Judy, he would put his phone on Do Not Disturb or silent mode. "I was in a meeting just now. My phone was on silent." His lies came one after another, but Rain had no intention of exposing them. "All right, let's go to the garage now and get my purse." Her only concern now was the pregnancy report in her purse. Nothing else mattered. Nothing about Ethan mattered anymore. Ring, ring, ring. Just then, Rain's phone suddenly rang. She answered it without putting it on speaker. "Hello, who is this? Hello, is this Miss Rain Dawson?" "Yes, this is she." "Hello, this is the passport office. There was an error in the information you provided when you applied for your passport a few days ago. You'll need to come back in to provide the correct information. When would be a good time for you?" "I'll come in the day after tomorrow." "Okay, have a great day." After hanging up, she began to calculate how quickly she could get home and clear out her things. Ethan faintly heard a few words. "Passport? What passport? Wifey, are you going abroad?" Ethan felt a vague sense of unease, but then he thought to himself that he had been too suspicious lately. After all, Rain loved him so much. Why would she secretly go abroad without telling him? "Is it for your friend? I heard from Aunt Luna that your best friend from university is planning to go abroad for further studies." Perfect. He had even come up with an excuse for her. Perhaps Ethan was too confident, believing that she, Rain Dawson, could never leave him, which was why he was always so sure of himself. Since a ready-made excuse was available, Rain had no reason not to use it. "Yes, Amy asked me to help her with her passport application." As she spoke, Rain walked quickly out of the office. "Let's go, let's not waste any more time." She needed to get her hands on that pregnancy report to feel at ease, but Ethan suddenly hugged her from behind. "You'll always be with me, right, wifey?" Held so close, the scent of the woman's perfume was even stronger, mixed with a faint, cloying sweetness. She knew what it was, and a wave of nausea washed over her. Rain turned her head away as her stomach churned. "Ethan, let go of me." Seeing her discomfort, Ethan quickly released her, his brow furrowed in concern as he gently patted her back. "What's wrong with you? What did you eat?" "Nothing. I just don't like the smell on you." She could barely hide the disgust in her eyes, her tone harsh. Ethan's pupils dilated in shock, a thought dawning on him. He was at a loss for words. I might have accidentally gotten some female colleague's perfume on me during the meeting." The meeting again. He was probably starting to believe his own lies. Ethan sniffed his own sleeve, his expression even more awkward. "Maybe your stomach is just sensitive lately, and you can't stand the smell of perfume. I'll tell the female employees not to wear any more perfume later." Female employees? He means Judy, doesn't he? After all, no one else gets that close to him. "All right, let's go." Rain didn't want to get tangled up in the perfume issue. It was pointless. She took a few quick steps, distancing herself from Ethan. "Don't come near me. The smell of you makes me want to throw up right now." Ethan's expression was dejected and hurt, but he didn't dare to get any closer. After successfully retrieving her purse, Rain visibly relaxed. She waved goodbye and parted ways with Ethan. Ethan stared at her retreating back, watching her walk away without a single glance back, and began to feel a sense of displacement. When did he and Rain become so distant, to the point where they had nothing left to say to each other? Rain no longer shared amusing stories or interesting videos with him. She no longer called him frequently to ask when he would be home. She no longer hugged him and acted spoiled like before. They barely even had a married life. Every time he wanted to be intimate, Rain would say she wasn't feeling well or that she was too tired. Thinking about all this, Ethan's unease grew. Since meeting Judy, he had indeed paid much less attention to Rain. Most of his energy was focused on company matters and on Judy. He wasn't particularly fond of Judy. She was just young, beautiful, passionate, and exciting a novelty. He simply enjoyed the pleasure she brought. While he was enjoying the delights the outside world offered, he had forgotten the person sleeping beside him. A wave of guilt washed over Ethan. He resolved to make it up to Rain, to focus more of his energy on her, and to stop being such a bastard. Otherwise, what if he truly broke Rain's heart and she really left? Ethan couldn't bear to imagine a day when Rain would leave him. Rain was the wife he had loved for so many years. He couldn't be apart from her. Back at home, Rain began to pack up her things. All her daily necessities and small, inconspicuous items were packed into cardboard boxes. The housekeepers watched her, puzzled. "Ma'am, what are you doing with these?" "They're old. I'm planning to throw them out and buy new ones." Rain didn't look back, continuing her work. The housekeepers didn't think much of it and started helping her pack. "Ma'am, should this be thrown out too?" A housekeeper held up a pair of matching couples' mugs, confused. "Throw it out." She didn't hesitate for a second. When she first bought them, she had treasured those mugs. Even though Ethan had called her childish, she didn't care. Just looking at them made her feel sweet inside. "Ma'am, what about this teddy bear?" "Throw it out." "These art drafts?" "Throw them out." No matter what it was, as long as it was related to her, she had it all thrown out without a second thought. She gave her half-used skincare products and cosmetics to the housekeepers and donated her valuables to a charity. When Ethan returned that night, he found the villa eerily empty. The most striking absence was the large double portrait that used to hang in the living room. It was gone. That oil painting was Rain's work. When they had just gotten married, Rain had read somewhere that a lovingly painted wedding portrait would be more blessed by the gods than a photograph. So, after they were married, she spent half a year painting an oil portrait of their wedding scene. For those 6 months, she spent almost all her free time locked in her studio, painting from their wedding photos. When it was finished, she happily took down their wedding photograph and hung her painting in its place. Ethan remembered how brightly she had smiled that day, her eyes sparkling. "Hubby, we'll be together forever. The gods will bless us." He had smiled back then and said, "You little superstitious thing. If the gods were real, there wouldn't be so many heartbroken lovers in the world." Though he had teased her for being superstitious, only Ethan knew how much his heart had fluttered. His entire being was enveloped in Rain's intense love. Every breath he took seemed filled with a sweet fragrance. Ethan knew, of course, that this painting held great significance for them. "Where's the painting?" Mrs. Montgomery said it was old, so she took it down. Ethan went to the bedroom, which was even more shockingly empty. Rain's vanity table was completely bare, and even her favorite teddy bear was gone. An inexplicable panic began to rise in his heart. He rushed to the closet and opened it. Seeing it full of clothes, he finally let out a sigh of relief. Just then, Rain, who had just gone out to take out the trash, came in. "You're back," she greeted him simply, and was about to walk past him to the closet to get her pajamas for a shower. "Why did you throw away so many things?" Ethan watched her every move, his breathing quickening. Rain acted as if she hadn't heard, her expression unchanged. "They were old. I plan to replace them." She let out a small laugh. "Out with the old, in with the new, right? Surely a big-shot president like you isn't worried about this little bit of money." "Of course not. As long as you're happy, you can buy whatever you want." Ethan's explanation was rushed, the anxiety and unease in his eyes undeniable. He seemed to really care about her. Rain took a set of pajamas from the closet. "I'm going to take a shower. We can talk after I'm out." But the calmer and more unruffled she was, the more uneasy Ethan became. He had a nagging feeling that something was slipping out of his control. "Why did you take down the oil painting in the living room?" Rain paused, a barely perceptible arch in her eyebrow. This time, she couldn't just say it was old. The painting's meaning was too significant for such a casual excuse. "I want to have it framed, to protect it properly." So, it was to protect it. A smile finally appeared on Ethan's tense, solemn face. "I know a few framers I can." "No need. I've already found someone. The painting has been sent to them." In reality, she hadn't sent it to any framer. The painting had been thrown away. It was probably in some forgotten corner, carried away by a garbage truck. "All right then." Ethan hesitated before speaking again. "I have a business trip next Monday. Do you have to go?" "What's wrong, wifey? Is there something important that day?" "Nothing." Of course, there was something important. That day was their wedding anniversary. He really couldn't remember. "I'll have a business trip gift for you. You'll see it when you get back." "What kind of gift?" "It's a secret. You'll find out." The next day, she woke up early and went to the hospital. Today was the day of her abortion. As she lay on the bed, her consciousness slowly fading, tears still fell from her eyes. She was reluctant and heartbroken for this child. But if she gave birth, the child was destined to not have a complete family. To bring them into the world would be cruel. After the surgery, she lay weakly on the bed, her mind a complete blank. Suddenly, a message came through. She opened it and saw it was from Judy, a pregnancy report. Judy's message was provocative. "I'm pregnant with Mr. Montgomery's child. Do you think he'll divorce you for this and marry me?" "Judy, do you know what Mr. Montgomery says about you? He says you're so boring, so uninteresting. He only feels relaxed and happy when he's with me." "Judy, he says he likes me a lot and that he doesn't even want to touch you anymore. You're not young anymore." Rain's eyes were fixed on the pregnancy report, which included an ultrasound image of the fetus. Judy was pregnant, with Ethan's child. How absurd. It was as if fate loved to play jokes on her. On the very day her own child was gone, she learned that the other woman was pregnant. While she, Rain Dawson, lay alone in a hospital, was her husband celebrating the news of Judy's pregnancy. Was he, as Judy claimed, already planning how to get rid of her and get a divorce? Her tightly wound nerves suddenly snapped. She clutched her stomach and broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. She, Rain Dawson, had killed her own child. It was her fault for loving the wrong person, and her child had paid the price, never even getting a chance to see the world. That night, she didn't go home. Instead, she went to stay with her university friend, Amy. She had just had an abortion, and in her current state, it wasn't right for Ethan to see her. More importantly, she didn't want to see Ethan right now. Thinking of her poor child, Rain's hatred for Ethan deepened. Amy didn't know what had happened to her. In her mind, Rain was the luckiest woman in the world, marrying Ethan right after graduation. Ethan was handsome, a star on campus during their university days. After graduating, he started his own business, founded the Montgomery Group, and within 5 years, the company went public. He was now a billionaire entrepreneur. Rich, handsome, faithful, and deeply in love. And this man was completely smitten with her friend. Amy and Rain hadn't had much contact after Rain's marriage. They were both busy with work and their own lives, only occasionally sending holiday greetings. That was all. So when Rain suddenly contacted her and said she wanted to stay over, Amy was naturally delighted. In university, they had been the best of friends. But when she saw Rain's pale, bloodless face, Amy was shocked. "What happened to you?" I just had an abortion. Why? Seeing Rain's red, swollen eyes, Amy suddenly understood. This relationship that everyone envied was not as glamorous as it seemed on the surface. True, once a person gained power and influence, it was hard to stay true to oneself. Before bed, Ethan called. "Wifey, why didn't you come home today?" "I'm at Amy's. I'm not coming back tonight." "All right then. I'll come pick you up tomorrow." One night dreamless. After a night of rest, Rain's body had recovered a lot. Looking in the mirror, she saw her face was still pale. She applied some blush and lipstick to give herself some color. When she went downstairs, she found Ethan already waiting for her. As soon as he saw her, Ethan waved happily. She showed no expression, just gave a slight nod. "Wifey." Ethan opened the passenger door, and this time she didn't refuse. Perhaps it was the exhaustion from the abortion that made her too tired to argue about anything. As she got in the car, Ethan noticed how pale she was. "What's wrong with you? Why is your face so white?" "Period cramps." Rain's words were brief. She didn't want to waste a single extra word on Ethan. After buckling her seatbelt, Rain closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. She really didn't want to deal with Ethan. She didn't want to talk to him, didn't want to see him. Ethan, thinking she really had period cramps, tactfully didn't disturb her. He dropped her off at home, said he had something to do at the company, and left again. But just 2 hours later, Rain received another message from Judy. It was a photo of Ethan cutting a steak in a Western restaurant. "Judy, hee, Mr. Montgomery is so happy. He took me out for a candlelit dinner to celebrate my birthday. Our first candlelit dinner was here too." Rain didn't reply. She had never replied to any of Judy's provocative texts. There was no point. Arguing with her online was meaningless. First, she went to the bedroom to get her documents to renew her passport. Then she met up with Amy for a meal, one last gathering. After all, this might be the last time they would see each other. Separated by mountains and seas, it would be difficult to meet again. Rain had a full day. Once her passport was ready, she immediately booked a flight online. There were only a few days left until her departure. She planned to escape far, far away to a place where Ethan would never find her. Once she disappeared, her marriage to Ethan would naturally have no legal standing. So she didn't even want to waste energy on a divorce. Ethan wouldn't agree, and it would expose her plan to leave. A few days later, Rain received another message from Judy. "Mr. Montgomery knows I'm pregnant. He told me to take care of myself and that he wants me to have the baby." Rain still didn't reply. She went to the bank, transferred all her money to a new foreign account she had just registered, and then canceled all her domestic bank cards. The time for her departure was drawing nearer. Perhaps due to her pregnancy, Judy had been very active lately, sending her messages almost every day. From these provocative texts, Rain could piece together Ethan's daily schedule. This time, it was a video. The video showed a beautiful and romantic fireworks display at an amusement park. The light of the fireworks illuminated two figures on the ground, one tall and one short. It was Ethan and Judy. "Judy, I said I was in a bad mood, so Mr. Montgomery booked the entire amusement park for me to watch the fireworks. He said as long as I'm happy, anything is worth it." So Ethan had been very busy during this time. He left early and came home late every day, saying he was preparing for a business trip, but it turned out he was off pleasing Judy. And with the news of Judy's pregnancy, Ethan must be overjoyed. For the past year or two, Arthur and Helen had been urging them to have a child, and Ethan himself had mentioned wanting a child to Rain several times. But ever since she found out about his affair, Rain had given up on the idea of having a child with him. After looking forward to a child for so long, Ethan must be thrilled. She wouldn't get in the way. She would let this family of 3 live their lives. Finally, the day of their wedding anniversary arrived, which was also the day Rain was leaving. Coincidentally, it was also the day Ethan was leaving for his business trip. As he was about to leave, Ethan stood at the door with his suitcase, looking back at her several times. For some reason, he felt a constant unease. "Wifey, what is it?" Rain was eating her breakfast, her head not even lifting. Ethan took a deep breath and put down his suitcase. "Wifey, have you forgotten my farewell hug?" Rain's spoon paused. They used to have a farewell hug. Every time Ethan went on a long trip, she would be reluctant to see him go. They would hug for a long time at the door, feeling each other's warmth. It was their unspoken tradition. For years, she had given him a farewell hug whenever he went on a business trip. When did she stop doing that? Even Rain herself couldn't remember. The memories were too distant, so distant that recalling them felt surreal. Whatever. This is the last time. Rain got up, walked over to Ethan, and let him pull her into his arms. He hugged her tightly, as if trying to merge her into his very flesh and blood. Even his breath on her neck was unusually hot. "Wait for me to come back." Rain didn't answer. "Wifey, wait for me at home. I'll be back as soon as I can." He kept repeating, "Wait for me to come back." When she didn't answer, he persisted, whispering in her ear as if he had to get her confirmation. Reluctantly, she gave a casual, That single, simple word seemed to lift a huge weight from Ethan's heart. "Be good, call me if anything happens. Sleep well, eat well, and take care of yourself. You should go, or you'll miss your flight." Ethan finally let her go, picked up his suitcase, and left, looking back every few steps. After Ethan left, Rain quickly finished her breakfast. She went back to the bedroom and packed all her documents. She had already arranged for a charity to pick up the clothes in her closet. By the time she had packed the clothes, the staff from the charity arrived. Several bags of clothes were carried out of the villa. The housekeepers exchanged glances, wondering why Mrs. Montgomery was throwing things out again. But they were professional and knew not to ask what they shouldn't. Finally, Rain returned to the bedroom and left a note on the table. It read, "Let's end it here. We're both free now." After everything was done, she grabbed her documents and, as she walked out the door, she couldn't help but look back one last time. The living room was empty. The entire villa had no trace of her left, making it feel unfamiliar even to her. She handed a gift box to a housekeeper. "When Ethan comes back, give this to him." Inside the beautifully wrapped box was the melted gold ring and a hospital certificate for an abortion. This anniversary gift, she thought, would be one he would remember. Ethan would be pleased, too. After all, she had taken the initiative to bow out. She didn't take much with her, traveling light. She only had a backpack containing a new phone she had bought the day before, a power bank, and her documents. She didn't dare take her old phone. She was afraid Ethan would track her through its location. She took a taxi to the airport. Ethan's plane had already landed, while hers was about to take off. Upon arriving at the airport, she removed her SIM card and threw it into a trash can without a second thought. An announcement played over the speakers. "Attention passengers, Flight CA-27 is now boarding. Please have your personal belongings and boarding pass ready and proceed to Gate 21. We wish you a pleasant journey." Rain clutched her passport, took one last look back, and then walked resolutely towards the boarding gate. Goodbye. 2 days later, Ethan finally returned to the country. He had gone with Judy, and the two of them walked off the plane side by side, pulling their luggage. Judy clung to Ethan's arm like a delicate bird, pouting and acting coy from time to time. Ethan, in turn, kept his head down, talking to her with a smile on his lips. They looked like a young couple deeply in love. "My dear President, I'm exhausted after accompanying you on this business trip for 2 days. Is there any reward for me? What do you want?" "I don't want anything. You know I don't care about those things. I just want you to be with me." Ethan just smiled without a word. He didn't believe for a second that Judy truly loved him. Their relationship was nothing more than a sordid arrangement of a sugar daddy, and his sugar baby one sought power and status, the other, youth and beauty. But he wouldn't call her out on it. He treated Judy's words as a form of flirtation. "I need to spend the next few days with my wife. I won't have time for you." Judy pouted unhappily. "HMPH, I'm so pitiful. I have to go back to living in hiding again. The man I like is going to be with another woman." Ethan frowned at her words, feeling that Judy had overstepped her bounds this time. He looked at her displeased, his tone carrying a warning. "Know your place, don't be too greedy. All you can get from me is money. Don't covet what doesn't belong to you." His words were harsh. Judy had never been spoken to like this by Ethan before. In the past, whenever she expressed dissatisfaction, Ethan would laugh, tease her, and give her gifts to placate her. This time was different. Judy's eyes immediately welled up with tears, and she looked at Ethan with a pitiful expression. Ethan realized he had spoken too harshly. Perhaps it was because Rain hadn't sent him a single message or made a single call in the past few days, which had put him in a foul mood. In the past, when he was on a business trip, Rain would call him at least twice a day and message him frequently. But this time, it was too quiet. Ethan couldn't bring himself to ask her why she hadn't called. And so, the great President Montgomery had been stewing in this awkward frustration for 2 days. He felt he shouldn't have taken his anger out on Judy. All right, I misspoke, okay? You've never been so fierce with me before. Do you hate me now? No, I don't hate you. What do you want to buy? Weren't you eyeing that gemstone necklace from the auction? I bought it. I'll have it sent to your place tonight. Ethan had originally intended to buy that necklace for Rain, but he was feeling resentful. Not a single call in so many days. Rain was clearly not concerned about him at all. Since Judy needed it more now, he would give it to her. As for Rain, he would buy her an even more expensive and magnificent necklace. Really? Thank you, my dear President. Happy now? Happy. Judy excitedly stood on her tiptoes and gave Ethan a kiss on the lips. This scene was coincidentally captured by a passerby. The photo froze the moment Ethan looked down with a smile as Judy stood on her tiptoes, kissing him amidst the bustling crowd. The photo was uploaded to the internet. Enthusiastic netizens pushed this beautiful and romantic airport kiss photo to the top of the trending lists. Thoughtfully adding the caption, "The most touching glimpse at the airport back at the company," Ethan finally couldn't resist calling Rain. But all he heard was a cold female voice on the other end. "The number you have dialed is busy. Please try again later." Huh, what's going on? Ethan was puzzled. Who was Rain talking to on the phone for so long? Beside him, Manager Quinn wiped away cold sweat as he watched, an answer forming in his mind, though he hesitated to speak. "Manager Quinn, what's with all the winking and grimacing? If you can't do your job, then get out." Ethan was in a foul mood and irritated by everyone. Manager Quinn was sweating profusely. "I'll get out right now." When Judy came in, she heard Ethan's roar. As she passed Manager Quinn, he gave her a slight shake of his head and whispered, "The boss is in a bad mood. You should be careful." Naturally, she swayed into the office and cooed soothingly, "My dear President, what are you so angry about now?" Ethan ignored her, staring frustratedly at the unanswered call screen. Judy glanced over and saw the contact name was Wifey. She instantly understood. So, it was Rain not answering his calls. Did she think that by not answering his calls, by playing hard to get, Ethan would remain faithful to her? Judy scoffed inwardly. "Mrs. Montgomery is so inconsiderate, not even sending you a single message for so long." Ethan finally reacted, his brow furrowed in displeasure, his eyes showing his annoyance. His tone was stiff and cold. "No one is to speak ill of her in front of me. Judy, you've crossed the line." Judy was adept at reading people. Knowing Ethan was genuinely angry, she quickly put on a smile and, without any hesitation, started massaging his shoulders. "I'm sorry, I was just too worried about you. I got carried away." As she spoke, she deliberately kissed his cheek to appease him. "I'm wearing stockings today. Do you want to feel?" Ethan had absolutely no interest. He was agitated, feeling that something was wrong. Even when Judy leaned in to kiss him, he felt it was utterly pointless. Even his favorite black stockings now seemed out of place. "I'm not in the mood. You can leave." Judy pouted, rubbing her chest against Ethan's back in dissatisfaction. "You said at the airport you didn't hate me, but now you're so cold to me. You clearly do hate me." Her eyes began to well up with tears again. She looked pitiful and deserving of sympathy, but Ethan was in no mood to comfort her. "That's enough, don't push your luck." After being rejected several times, Judy was a bit unhappy and started speaking without thinking. "I'm just worried about you. Mrs. Montgomery is always overthinking things. She's already lucky enough to have your love, yet she's still not satisfied. Now she's playing hard to get." This time, Ethan was truly furious, his voice rising several octaves. "Did you not hear what I just said? How dare you spout nonsense in front of me? Get out." Ethan shot up, flinging Judy, who was clinging to him, away. He used a lot of force, not holding back at all. Judy's waist slammed into the corner of the desk, the pain bringing tears to her eyes. This time, she was really crying, but she didn't dare make another sound. She knew she had said the wrong thing and was afraid of being truly cast aside by Ethan. She immediately did as he said, clutching her waist as she ran out. On her way out, she happened to run into Manager Quinn, who had returned. Seeing her clutching her waist, Manager Quinn had a meaningful expression on his face and teased, "Was it that intense this time?" You can barely stand up straight, Assistant Mills. Judy would never admit that she had been thrown against a desk by Ethan. She forced herself to stand straight. Mr. Montgomery is in a bad mood. You should be careful, Director. Not everyone is treated as kindly by Mr. Montgomery as I am. Naturally. Manager Quinn entered with a stack of documents, not daring to breathe too loudly. Mr. Montgomery, the meeting is about to start. Let's go. Ethan was clearly preoccupied. Even when Rain was angry before, she would never go this long without answering his calls. He wondered if something had happened. Wait a minute. He had to confirm Rain was safe before the meeting. Ethan immediately called the villa. A housekeeper answered. Boss, where is Mrs. Montgomery? Mrs. Montgomery hasn't been back for a few days. She said she was staying at a friend's house. Oh, and she said she left a gift for you. That's right, there was a gift. Rain had said she would give him a gift. Ethan felt a sense of relief. He planned to go straight to Amy's house to pick up Rain after the meeting. He thought to himself that Rain was just angry and was waiting for him to come and appease her. All right, let's go to the meeting now. Ethan's lips curved into a slight smile as he spoke without looking up. Seeing him like this, Manager Quinn finally relaxed. Yes, sir. 2 hours later, the meeting ended. As Ethan took the meeting minutes from the manager, he said, I'm going to pick up my wife. Summarize the contents of this meeting and send it to me tonight. Yes, Mr. Montgomery. Without lingering, Ethan grabbed his car keys and phone and walked out. A series of unsettling events finally gave Judy a sense of crisis. Judy quickly followed Ethan, her words jumbled. Mr. Montgomery, didn't you say you would have dinner with me tonight? Why are you going back? Are you abandoning me again? He brushed off Judy's hand and said, Wasn't the lesson I taught you earlier enough? Don't get cocky just because you're favored. Know your place. Judy didn't dare to block his way again, her face turning pale. Ethan drove all the way to Amy's apartment. Amy was packing her luggage when she heard a frantic ringing of the doorbell. Who is it? Amy opened the door. Where's my wife? Is she not up yet, or did she go out? Ethan craned his neck to look inside but saw no sign of Rain. Ever since she learned about Rain's abortion, Amy's perception of Ethan had shattered. In her eyes, he was now just another scumbag who had gone bad with money. Amy's tone was hostile. She's not here. Then where is she? Ethan ignored Amy's rudeness. All he wanted was to find Rain. That's hilarious. You, her husband who shares a bed with her, don't know where your wife is, so how would I know? You might as well go home and check. With that, she slammed the door shut with a loud thud. Ethan was left with a face full of dust, but he didn't press the issue. He figured Amy probably wasn't lying to him. He had no choice but to go home. Maybe Rain had gotten tired of her little game and had come back on her own. As he stood in front of the villa, a sense of trepidation grew in his heart. He had neglected Rain too much these past few days. He thought worriedly that it would take a lot of effort to coax her back this time. But there was nothing he could do. After all, Ethan Montgomery had always loved Rain's stubborn streak. As he walked into the familiar villa, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. Right now, he felt like his heart was about to leap out of his chest. Wifey, I'm home. Ethan walked into the living room with a light step, his eyes anxiously scanning the room for the figure he longed to see. Where is Mrs. Montgomery? Hasn't she come home yet? She had been gone for so many days. He was back from his business trip. Logically, no matter how angry she was, she should have come home today. The housekeepers exchanged glances, stammering. Mrs. Montgomery hasn't been back since she left 2 days ago. Ethan was displeased. Why did no one inform me? Are you all useless? No one answered his question. Besides, hadn't he always been uninterested in his wife's whereabouts? He never told them to report to him. It was usually his wife who cared about the boss's whereabouts. Everyone grumbled internally. He didn't care where she went or what she did before, but now that something's wrong, he's taking it out on us. What a damn capitalist. An older housekeeper stepped forward, bracing herself. Boss, Mrs. Montgomery left a gift box for you. I put it in the bedroom. A gift, right? The gift. Without another word, Ethan rushed to the bedroom. The curtains were drawn tightly, not a sliver of sunlight slipping into the room. It was dark and cold. He turned on the light and immediately saw the note pressed under the gift box on the vanity. It was Rain's last words to him. Let's end it here. We're both free now. Each character was written with a bold, unrestrained flourish. He even had the feeling that Rain was happy when she wrote it. She was casually ending their years-long relationship, happily embracing her so-called freedom. Ethan's hand, holding the note, trembled uncontrollably. In a daze, he remembered a time when they were deeply in love. Rain had held him and said, "I will never joke about breaking up, nor will I say it out of anger. If one day I say we should separate, it means we will separate, with no chance of reconciliation. I will never give you a chance to say those 2 words." She hadn't lied. They had been together for 10 years, married for 7, and no matter how angry she got, she never mentioned breaking up. Rain was really leaving him the moment this thought surfaced. Ethan's heart felt as if it had been pierced by countless silver needles, the pain making it hard to breathe. He immediately called Rain, but the cold, mechanical voice returned. "Sorry, the number you have dialed is busy. Please try again later." Sorry, you. At that moment, he finally understood. He had been blocked. The gift. Yes, there was still the gift. But suddenly, he was afraid of this gift. He had been looking forward to it for so many days, but now, he needed immense courage just to open it. Ethan's fingertips barely touched the gift box before he quickly pulled them back. "Wifey," his eyes were red as he stood frozen in front of the gift box, like a silent statue. After a long while, he finally opened it. The first thing he saw was a flattened surgical form abortion surgery patient, Rain Dawson. The world stopped at that moment. His wife had secretly aborted their child. The child that connected him and Rain by blood was gone, and he hadn't even known of its existence. Rain had given up on him, and she didn't even want their child. In an instant, a sharp pain like a surging tide washed over him, quickly spreading to every corner of his body. Ethan felt as if he were in a world of ice and snow, his body trembling uncontrollably. It wasn't over. Underneath the surgical form was something wrapped in red cloth. The shock was so great that he couldn't hold the red cloth package steady. He dropped it several times. When he finally unwrapped it, he saw a small piece of gold. It was their ring. He remembered that Rain had stopped wearing her ring long ago. So she had been planning to leave him for that long. Everything around him seemed to sense his inner torment. The world suddenly became incredibly quiet, as if time had frozen. The sound of the wind, rustling the curtains, and the leaves outside the villa all disappeared. After what felt like an eternity, Ethan finally came to his senses. With a trembling hand, he opened his contacts and found Amy's number. Amy didn't answer at first. It wasn't until the 4th call that she picked up, annoyed. After hearing why he was calling, Amy scoffed. "What? She still hasn't come home? Looks like she's gone. Your wife doesn't want you anymore." After her painful taunt, Amy hung up, but Ethan was past caring about her hostile attitude. He immediately started calling other people. "Hello, do you know where Rain went?" "No idea." Rain had dinner with us a few days ago. We threw her a farewell party. You, her husband, are only just now finding out she's leaving?" The person's tone was full of disapproval. Ethan, still not giving up, pressed on. "Are you sure you don't know where she went? If you tell me, I can give you money." The person on the other end laughed as if they'd heard a joke. "Old friend, are you trying to insult me with money? Everyone said you've changed a lot, and it seems they were right. Rain was even more right to leave you. If you have any conscience left, stop looking for her." Rain's visible exhaustion and weariness over the past couple of years had made it clear to outsiders that her marriage to Ethan was in deep trouble. It had only just now exploded. Ethan fell silent as the call was disconnected again. He called several of Rain's close friends, one after another, but they all claimed to know nothing about her whereabouts, and each time he was met with a barrage of sarcastic remarks. No one was willing to tell him. With no other options, Ethan had to search on his own. He called Manager Quinn. "Find my wife's travel itinerary, quickly." Yes, I'll get on it right away." Manager Quinn had no idea what had happened between the boss and his wife, but he had a faint feeling that something serious was afoot. After hanging up, the more Ethan thought, the more his panic grew. She had hardly ever traveled far on her own. He was afraid that if Rain left in a fit of anger, she wouldn't be able to take care of herself, that she would make mistakes in her daily life. Anxiously, Ethan quickly opened his computer, logged into his bank account, and started transferring money to her. He was afraid she wouldn't have enough money, afraid she would run into trouble. As long as Rain had enough money, nothing too serious could happen. He entered a string of zeros, transferring a large sum to Rain's bank card. But not long after, the money was returned to his account. Why? Ethan was on the verge of a breakdown, stripped of all his usual composure and dignity. He immediately called the bank's customer service. "Why was the money I transferred returned?" "Hello, sir, let me check that for you." 2 minutes later, the customer service representative's voice came back on the line. "Sir, the bank account you are trying to transfer to has been closed. The transaction cannot be completed." Closed. She had even closed her bank account. It was only then that he belatedly realized just how much she had done to leave him, and he hadn't noticed a thing. Ethan was filled with extreme regret, and the desire to find her and make it up to her grew even stronger. "Sir, is there anything else I can help you with?" "No, that's all." Ethan hung up the phone, exhausted, and covered his face with his hands. His vision began to blur. A tidal wave of remorse engulfed him. If only he had paid more attention to Rain when he noticed she was acting strangely. If only he had come home on time instead of fooling around with Judy. If only he had investigated when he noticed she wasn't wearing her ring. If only he had done something when he saw the painting was taken down. One thing after another, it all piled up, finally crushing the body he had been struggling to hold together all day. He collapsed to the floor, clutching his phone, and choked out a sob, but now it was all too late. That evening, Manager Quinn called. "Mr. Montgomery, I found it. A week ago, Mrs. Montgomery bought a ticket to Germany. She left on a flight 2 days ago. 2 days ago, the day of his business trip. It was that day. Find out exactly where she went after the plane landed. Yes, I'll keep looking. There's one more thing. When I was checking the airport surveillance today, I found that Mrs. Montgomery threw away a SIM card at the airport. I've already retrieved it." So she had even thrown away her SIM card. It made sense. If she had closed her bank accounts, why would she keep her SIM card? The more he investigated, the more Ethan felt the unwavering determination in Rain's decision to leave, and the more his heart sank. He even found Rain's old phone in the bedroom trash can. The phone had been factory reset. There was no information left on it. Ethan had someone restore the phone's data overnight. Soon, the technicians recovered the data. And he finally got a glimpse into Rain's inner world. He opened Rain's social media account and looked at their chat history. The last message was from a week ago. For that whole week, Rain hadn't sent him a single message, and he hadn't sent her one either. The last message was from Ethan to Rain. "Wifey, I'm coming home tonight." Rain had not replied. Scrolling up, he saw that their messages over the past few months had been sparse, mostly just Ethan occasionally saying he was coming home or on a business trip, and Rain's replies were almost always a simple Ethan's heart pounded as he read. He realized that they had been strangers for so long, a thick wall of alienation pushing them further and further apart. They were less like a married couple and more like familiar strangers. He kept scrolling up, back to a year ago. Back then, Rain would send him many messages, asking if he was cold or hungry and sharing funny short videos with him. Until last year, on October 25th, her enthusiasm vanished. The change was stark and clear. It was their wedding anniversary the day before their anniversary. She had mysteriously told him she had a surprise for him. After that day, she rarely initiated messages with him. Ethan felt as if he had been hit over the head with a club, leaving him battered and bleeding. He remembered it all. On that day last year, he had forgotten their wedding anniversary. He had been bewitched and had gone out for a candlelit dinner with Judy. When he got home, he saw Rain with bloodshot eyes and a table full of cold food. He only found out later that it was their wedding anniversary. He regretted it deeply, holding Rain and crying, begging for her forgiveness, promising he would never forget their anniversary again. October 25th, instantly, the color drained from his face. The day of his business trip had been their wedding anniversary. He had forgotten again. Thump, an immense wave of remorse engulfed him. He couldn't hold his phone steady, and it fell to the floor. No, Rain's phone can't break. He quickly bent down to pick it up, but his tears hit the phone before he could. Ethan was still sharp. After the pain subsided, his reason gradually returned. Such a drastic change in Rain couldn't be just because he had forgotten their anniversary. Something else must have happened. An answer slowly formed in his mind: Judy. Only knowing about his affair with Judy could have made Rain so utterly heartbroken. Judy, Ethan gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with a towering hatred. Manager Quinn, bring Mrs. Montgomery's SIM card to me immediately. Boss, I'm on my way. I'll be there soon. Ethan felt that the card held the answers he was looking for. While waiting for the SIM card, Ethan's heart felt as if it were being squeezed tightly. He clung to a sliver of hope, thinking that maybe his wife hadn't found out about his affair, that maybe she was leaving him only because he had neglected her for the past couple of years. If that were the case, he might still have a chance to win her back. But what if she knew? Ethan didn't dare to think further. If she really knew, would he have the face to see her again? Would he have the confidence to win Rain back? Half an hour later, Manager Quinn personally delivered the SIM card. Ethan frantically inserted it into Rain's old phone. The moment the card was in, a flood of text messages popped up. Among them, what stood out was a countless number of unread messages from an unsaved number. Ethan opened it and froze. Heaven had not been kind to him. Rain really had found out about his affair. All these messages were taunts from Judy to Rain. There were countless intimate photos of him and Judy. Pictures of them having a candlelit dinner, kissing on the beach, a video of them watching fireworks at an amusement park, and many more explicit, shockingly private photos. How can you be so shameless, staying home alone every day? Don't you get the hint? Why are you still clinging to Mr. Montgomery? He told me today that he likes me the most. He said seeing your long face kills his mood. The one who isn't loved is the third wheel. Mr. Montgomery doesn't love you anymore. Why don't you just leave? I'm pregnant with Mr. Montgomery's child. Do you think he'll divorce you for the baby and marry me? He said he likes me a lot and that he doesn't even want to touch you anymore. You're not young anymore. There were many similar provocative messages, the words sharp and vicious. He shook his head violently, murmuring, "No, I never belittled you to anyone. I never said those things, I didn't." But no one heard his explanation. Ethan's vision blurred, his heart clenched in a tight knot. He couldn't bear to imagine how much pain Rain must have felt receiving those messages. His heart ached for her. A torrent of resentment made it impossible for him to stay there any longer. He was filled with hatred, hating Judy for making him lose Rain. He grabbed his keys and drove to the high-rise apartment he had given Judy. The whole way there, his face was dark and terrifying. The moment he stepped through the door, a surprised and delighted Judy threw herself at him. "My dear President, you're here." Ethan didn't move, just stared at her with a grim face. "What's wrong? Haven't you found Mrs. Montgomery yet? Is she still throwing a tantrum?" At the mention of Rain, a storm of fury was unleashed within Ethan. He violently threw Judy off him. The force was so great that it sent her flying several feet, crashing into a chair. No matter how slow Judy was, she knew that something major must have happened with Rain. Maybe she had really left. "Does that mean I have a chance to move up?" In a flash, she was dizzy with joy, and facing Ethan's fury, she blurted out, "She really left." "Then you're all mine?" Her words completely enraged Ethan. At that moment, he wanted nothing more than to kill her. He lunged at her like a furious beast, his eyes wide, his hands wrapping tightly around Judy's slender neck. His hands were like iron clamps, squeezing with immense, merciless force. Judy was terrified by the sudden attack. She tried to struggle, but his strength was too great. She couldn't break free. Let go." Gradually, Judy found it hard to breathe. Her face turned from red to white, and her lips began to turn purple. But Ethan showed no sign of loosening his grip. Instead, he squeezed even tighter, as if trying to unleash all his anger through his hands. Just as Judy's struggles weakened, he finally let go. Judy collapsed to the floor, her face pale, looking at Ethan in terror. Ethan's gaze was icy, as if he were looking at a dead thing. "How dare you provoke my wife? How dare you? I warned you not to show off in front of her. It's your fault she left. It's your fault I lost Rain. You deserve to die." He blamed everything on Judy, as if doing so could erase the harm he had done to Rain, as if he could still win her back. I didn't. It wasn't me." Realizing she was caught, Judy's first reaction was to deny it to the death. "You still dare to lie I was wrong, so wrong to get involved with filth like you, mistaking a fish eye for a pearl. You, a mere bedroom plaything, actually dared to provoke my wife, to flaunt yourself in front of her. In my heart, you're not even worth a single strand of her hair." Ethan had lost all reason. He was now venting all the anger from Rain's departure onto Judy. It was all this bitch's fault. She was the one who thought she was so clever, who dared to secretly contact Rain to provoke and hurt her. She was the one who drove Rain away. Judy clutched her neck. It was the first time she had seen Ethan look at her with such a terrifying gaze. She was too scared to speak. She was terrified of Ethan, afraid that in his rage, he would kill her. She tried to sneak away, but Ethan wouldn't let her go. He grabbed her and slammed her against the doorframe. At this, Judy's carefully maintained composure shattered. She panicked. What are you trying to do? Murder is illegal." Afraid of angering Ethan further, Judy tried to backtrack. I was wrong. I didn't mean to do it. I was just so in love with you that I took a risk. HMPH, love me? You love money, don't you? Judy, you really deserve to die. I won't let you go. You just wait." Judy sensed things were going badly and wanted to argue further. But Ethan was already disgusted with her, wishing she would disappear from his sight immediately. He picked up his phone and called building security. "From now on, no woman with the surname Mills is allowed in my property." The security at the high-end apartment building was on call 24/7. They arrived immediately after receiving the message. "Ma'am, please leave." Judy, of course, refused. "No, this apartment is mine. I'm not leaving." The security guard was exasperated. "The property belongs to Mr. Montgomery. Ma'am, please leave immediately." "No, I won't go." With no other choice, the security guards called for backup and dragged Judy out. Powerless to resist, Judy was unceremoniously dragged out of the apartment in her light pajamas. She watched in horror as the door closed in front of her, the life of luxury that had been within her grasp, now gone forever. Residents were drawn by the commotion and began to point and stare at her. Judy, now completely broken, began to scream through her tears. "Ethan Montgomery, you bastard, do you think she'll come back if you kick me out? I'm telling you, she won't come back. You've lost her forever. You're just as pitiful as I am." It wasn't until more and more onlookers gathered that she snapped back to reality and realized what a state she was in. What's going on? Why was she kicked out? What else could it be? She must be a mistress who got caught by the original wife. Didn't you hear what she said? "Pa, mistresses are the worst. Onlookers love a good show, especially one involving a mistress." They didn't just gossip, they also took out their phones and started recording. Seeing things escalate, Judy quickly covered her face and fled in disgrace, finding a hotel to stay in. But it wasn't over. It was just the beginning. The next day, when Judy arrived at the company, she found that she had been fired. The other employees pointed at her, their expressions full of undisguised mockery and malice. The truest color of human nature, kicking someone when they're down, was on full display. Many had been resentful of Judy, who, despite her average work skills, had managed to thrive by Ethan's side through her looks. A plaything who served a man with her body was always acting arrogant and superior in front of them. Many looked down on her, despised her. The employees usually didn't dare to do anything to her, but now that Judy had been cast aside by Ethan, the situation was different. How does Assistant Mills still have the face to come to work? Yeah, some people are just shameless. Mr. Montgomery doesn't even want you anymore, and you still have the nerve to show up. Can you expect someone who becomes a mistress to have any shame? Judy's face turned red, then white. "Shut up," the crowd only grew more energized, hooting and then bursting into laughter. "You were kicked out in your pajamas, and you still don't get it? Mr. Montgomery was just playing with you. You were just a side dish, and you really dared to dream of marrying into the Montgomery family?" Judy's face turned completely white. You all know," the employees roared with laughter again. A kind soul held a phone up to her face, playing a video from the top of the trending list. It was the video of her being kicked out of the apartment and having a meltdown outside yesterday. The video was complete, recording everything from her being dragged out by security to her fleeing in shame. The comments below were all curses and mockery, the words sharp and vicious. "Ah, get away, take it away," Judy fled in disgrace once again. In an instant, she became a reviled other woman, and even Ethan wasn't spared. The all-powerful netizens had identified the two protagonists of the incident within hours. Judy and Ethan's identities were exposed online. Even photos and surveillance footage of their sweet interactions on the street were found. And that airport kiss photo, which had been all the rage a few days ago, became the most crucial piece of evidence. The caption that a few days ago read the most touching glimpse at the airport now read the most disgusting scene at the airport. In an instant, the two of them became the internet's bywords for scumbag and slut. Even the Montgomery Group's social media accounts were flooded with comments, with people calling for a boycott of its products. The Montgomery Group's PR team acted quickly and managed to quell the uproar, but it still had a significant impact on the company's stock, which even hit its daily limit down. Ethan paid no attention to any of this turmoil. His mind was entirely focused on finding Rain. Ethan was a man of his word. After kicking Judy out, he made a call and had her blacklisted from the entire industry. After venting his anger, he returned to the villa he had shared with Rain and sat alone on the bed in their bedroom until dawn. For several days, he lay in the bedroom, soaking in the lingering warmth Rain had left behind, trying to soothe the pain in his heart. He tortured himself by rereading his chat history with Rain from the past few years. The further he scrolled, the more beautiful and passionate their conversations seemed, which only made the pain in his heart more like a knife twisting. Every endearing nickname, every heartfelt concern, pushed him deeper into the abyss of despair. Memories can be lethal. The more beautiful and passionate those chats were, the more they pierced his heart. But as if possessed, he kept his eyes glued to the screen, his fingers mechanically tapping through one message after another and constantly looking at their photos together. He even dug out their wedding video and watched it over and over again. In the video, Rain's smile was sweet and radiant. Every look she gave him was like a sharp blade, stabbing into Ethan's already shattered heart. Ethan didn't eat or drink, locking himself in the bedroom. However, he couldn't stop this near self-destructive behavior. It was as if only by doing this could he feel the warmth and love that once existed, even though it had now turned into endless pain. Memories were like a surging tide, wave after wave crashing into his heart. Those beautiful moments, the sweet words they exchanged when they poured out their hearts to each other. Those passionate times, the promises filled with excitement and anticipation, now they had all become the sharpest weapons, mercilessly piercing Ethan's soul. It wasn't until Manager Quinn called. "Mr. Montgomery, I found her." After the plane landed, Mrs. Montgomery found a room in the house of an elderly couple in Germany and paid a month's rent. Ethan's dazed, grief-stricken eyes instantly lit up. "Send me the address." "Now, okay. I'm going to Germany now. Cancel all my appointments." Manager Quinn nodded repeatedly, silently patting himself on the back. Thankfully, he had bought a plane ticket as soon as he found out Rain had gone to Germany. If he had waited until now, it might have been too late. "Oh, by the way, Mr. Montgomery, Judy came to the company to cause trouble again today." Ethan didn't want to hear that name now. "Don't mention her to me." Manager Quinn hesitated, but still said it. "She came this afternoon and was shouting outside the company that she was pregnant." A child? The pain in Ethan's heart deepened. He and his wife once had a child too. He had no feelings for the child in Judy's womb. He had never wanted any woman other than his wife to bear his children. They were not worthy. He remembered Judy had used the child in her womb to show off in front of Rain, and now he even resented that innocent child. "Get it taken care of before I get back." Ethan's tone was terrifyingly cold, as if the child had nothing to do with him. In his heart, that child was now a burden, evidence of his infidelity. He would do everything in his power to win Rain back, and this child would only stand between him and his beloved. It had to be dealt with. "Yes, I will take care of it." Manager Quinn broke out in a cold sweat, a little frightened by Ethan's ruthlessness. How Manager Quinn handled it, Ethan didn't care as long as it was handled. "Don't miss a single clue about my wife. I want a thorough investigation." "Rest assured, Mr. Montgomery, I will continue to investigate, and I will also handle Judy's matter for you." Ethan instantly snapped back to reality. He didn't even bother to change his clothes or wash up. He just found his documents and prepared to leave. As he passed Rain's vanity, he instinctively paused. He saw his reflection in the mirror. Haggard and disheveled, his cheeks sunken, his eyes bloodshot, as if all life and vitality had been drained from him. He looked like a weary, weather-beaten wanderer. When he stood on German soil, following the address given by Manager Quinn, he found himself in front of a house. Ethan stopped at the door, took a deep breath. At this moment, he was so nervous he didn't know what to do with his hands. In just a few seconds, 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind. He thought about how to face Rain, how to persuade her to change her mind, how to get her back by his side. He thought, this time he must make it up to Rain, treat her well, and never let her be sad again. Finally, he rang the doorbell. The door was opened quickly. The landlord saw a stranger, haggard and exhausted, looking like a drug addict. The landlord immediately became wary. "Who are you?" Ethan understood German. He had studied in Germany. He answered in German, "I'm looking for Rain Dawson." The landlord frowned, thinking hard. A few days ago, an Asian woman named Rain Dawson had indeed come to rent a room, but he didn't reveal this immediately. Instead, he studied Ethan carefully. "Who are you and what do you want with her?" The landlord had indeed seen Rain. Ethan couldn't hide his excitement. "She is my wife. We had a fight, and she ran away to Germany to hide from me." The landlord immediately waved his hand. "I did see her, but she only stayed for 2 days and then left." "Where did she go?" "I don't know. She was just my tenant. It would be rude of me to ask too many questions." The answer, so close, had slipped away. Ethan was, of course, unwilling to give up just like that. "Are you sure you don't know, or are you just unwilling to tell me? If you don't believe me, then forget it." The landlord was a little displeased and was about to close the door. Ethan immediately blocked the door. "I can give you money, as long as you provide me with a clue about her." As he spoke, Ethan took out some cash and pressed, "This is for you. You just need to tell me any information about my wife." The landlord accepted the tip with satisfaction, but still insisted he didn't know. He really didn't know. Rain would never reveal her whereabouts to someone she had just met. In fact, she hadn't told anyone, not even Amy. No one knew where she was going. Perhaps even Rain herself hadn't decided where she was going. "Then, if she contacts you, please let me know." Ethan stuffed another wad of money into the landlord's hand, his voice tinged with desperation. With no other choice, he could only find a hotel in Germany and continue his search. Ethan first contacted the local police, claiming his wife was missing. Then he went to the embassy, using the same story, trying to find any trace of Rain. The local police were very responsible and quickly got back to him. "Sir, you're lucky. Your wife is not in any trouble. She has simply left Germany." "What?" "Yes, airport surveillance shows she boarded a flight to the UK 3 days ago. Of course, we don't know if she is still in the UK." Ethan's mind went blank. She was deliberately avoiding him, but he had no time to think. He immediately bought a ticket to the UK. "I'm sorry, sir, she has already left." "When did she leave?" "She only stayed for 2 days and then left. She didn't say where she was going, only that she was going out to see the world. She said she had been trapped at home for too many years and was in pain, and now she wanted to travel and clear her head." "Okay, if she contacts you, please let me know." For several days, he found nothing. Every place he went, he was told that Rain had already left. She had been to so many places, as if she would never get tired, never stop. Gradually, Ethan completely lost track of her. He stood in a foreign country, lost, helpless, dejected, and desperate. He continued his aimless search for a long time, until it was clear that Rain had vanished into thin air with not a single clue left to find. It was only when company executives called him countless times, urging him to return and take charge, and when his parents, Arthur and Helen, were alerted and joined forces to persuade him to move on, that he finally returned to his country, lost and dejected. 2 years passed. Rain had been to many places, seen many landscapes, and interacted with people of different skin colors and cultural backgrounds. Finally, she decided to settle down in Malaysia. There were many Chinese people here, their cultures were similar, and they shared the same mother tongue. Rain met many people in the Chinese community. Leo Vance was a local Chinese and also Rain's neighbor. Leo was a man who loved to laugh. Every time she saw him, he was either laughing or on the verge of laughing. He was full of warmth and enthusiasm. The first time they met, he gave Rain a bouquet of flowers. "Flowers for a beauty. Thank you." After some time, Rain and Leo became familiar with each other. Leo was a moderately famous painter online with a particular love for portraiture. Rain also loved to paint, and the two often got together, taking turns as each other's models. However, their painting styles were completely different. The people Rain painted were always heavy, melancholic. Even when Leo was smiling, she could paint him with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But the Rain that Leo painted was sunny and full of hope. Even when she wasn't smiling, he could paint her with a warm and gentle light. At these times, Rain would say, "That's not me. I'm not that happy." Leo would retort, "The one you painted isn't me either. I'm not that unhappy, because when I see you, I'm very happy." They were both adults. Rain naturally understood the subtext in Leo's words and his feelings for her. "I'm sorry, I'm not considering." Leo interrupted her, smiling as he said, "That's my business. You don't have to feel troubled by it." After saying that, Leo left, looking a little uncomfortable. Rain thought that after this, Leo wouldn't come to the studio again. But the next day, he was there. "Rain, I like to paint you. Be my model again today?" Rain didn't refuse. They went to a sea of flowers, and in that world of orange, one person painted with abandon while the other quietly blended into the scenery. For the 2 years he couldn't find Rain, Ethan's life was either work or locking himself in the bedroom. He looked no different from a normal person. Even Arthur and Helen thought he had finally moved on. When Ethan first returned to the country, he had terrified them. They had never seen their son so gaunt, like a living dead man who had lost all will to live, whose soul was gone. At that time, they were afraid something would happen to Ethan, so they stayed with him for a long time, never leaving his side. Until one time, Ethan didn't come out of his bedroom for a long time. Arthur broke down the door and found Ethan unconscious on the carpet, his breathing extremely weak, in a very dangerous condition. The couple immediately called an ambulance and rushed him to the hospital. In the month they spent with Ethan, Arthur and Helen had worried so much that they aged visibly. Though only in their 40s and 50s, their hair was already full of white. To make matters worse, the doctor brought them bad news. The patient's condition is due to long-term mental stress and pressure, combined with poor diet and rest, which led to the coma. Moreover, the patient has suicidal tendencies and is not cooperating with our treatment. "Oh God, my child," hearing this, Helen let out a cry and fainted. Arthur was about to collapse as well, but a nearby doctor quickly supported him. "Help me see him." When Arthur reached Ethan's bedside, he saw Ethan lying there with his eyes open, listless and lifeless, with no reaction to the outside world. He had shut himself off. "Slap!" Arthur stumbled forward and slapped him across the face. The slap finally got a reaction out of Ethan. "Do you think Rain can see you like this? You drove her away, and now who are you putting on the show for? Rain just left, she's not dead. As long as you're alive and don't give up, you might be able to find her one day. But if you die like this, you'll never see her again." Ethan's lips moved, his dull, lifeless eyes looking at his father, unable to utter a single word. "Live well. As long as you're alive, there's still hope of finding her." After that, Ethan began to actively cooperate with the doctor's treatment. After recovering, he threw himself into his work, turning himself into a work machine. As soon as he returned to the villa, after eating, he would retreat to the bedroom he once shared with Rain, not emerging until it was time for work the next day. Rain, wandering the world, knew nothing of this. "Can I post this painting on my social media account?" Leo looked at his new oil painting with satisfaction. In the painting, Rain smiled warmly, with a vast sea of yellow flowers behind her. In that moment, she had become a spirit of the flowers. "Of course, you can." Rain had no reason to refuse. It was Leo's work. He certainly had the right to post his own work on his social media. She never expected that this decision would attract an unexpected person. After a meeting, Ethan heard the news. "Mr. Montgomery, don't you think the person in this painting looks a lot like Mrs. Montgomery?" Manager Quinn didn't actually care about so-called art, but his daughter was an art student and a big fan of a Chinese painter online named Leo Vance. When he got home, he happened to see his daughter looking at the painter's work, and one of the oil paintings was a portrait. He only took a quick glance at the person in the painting and was stunned. It was clearly Rain. Manager Quinn held his phone up to Ethan, opened Leo's account, and found the portrait of Rain. With just one look, Ethan froze. The person in the painting was indeed the person he had been longing for. "Where is she? Where is she now?" "The painter is Malaysian. Mrs. Montgomery should be there too." "Investigate it for me. Find out Mrs. Montgomery's location." Ethan felt like he was going crazy. A fire was burning in his chest, and he couldn't control his emotions at all. "I've finally found you. I've finally found you." Rain was still completely unaware of this. She spent her days locked in her studio, immersed in her own world. Leo still came to see her every day and happily told her that the oil painting was loved by many. "Congratulations! It's all thanks to my beautiful model. You're such a smooth talker." "It's not smooth talking, it's a fact." As they were bantering, a little girl ran into the studio. It was Leo's sister, Mia. "Sister Rain, someone's outside looking for you." "Who is it?" "I don't know, but it's a very tall and handsome big brother." Rain was confused. She turned to look at Leo questioningly. Leo shook his head, indicating he didn't know either. "All right, I'll go see." Rain thought it must be someone from the Chinese community, though she couldn't think of who it could be. When she walked out and saw the figure from a distance, she froze. It was Ethan. He was standing there, staring at her. Rain turned to leave, but then she thought better of it. "Why should I, Rain Dawson, hide? I'm not the one who cheated. Can I help you?" Her tone was cold, like a bucket of ice water poured over Ethan from head to toe. Ethan didn't dare to look Rain straight in the eye. He couldn't even face the wrong things he had done. "Come back with me, wifey." "Don't call me that." Rain looked at him with disgust, her voice sharp. "You know, Ethan, these 2 years without you have been the freest of my life." With every word she spoke, Ethan's face grew a shade paler. "Don't say that, You should go, I don't want to see you." Rain turned to leave, and Ethan anxiously stepped forward to grab her. "Don't touch her." Suddenly, Leo's voice came from behind. Leo and Mia had come out. Mia, like a little firecracker, charged at Ethan, blocking him from Rain. Ethan had no choice but to take a step back. Ethan frowned, looking at the angry child, then his gaze shifted to Leo. Although the two men said nothing, their eyes met in a silent standoff, neither willing to give an inch. "Since Rain doesn't want you near her, you should stay away and not harass her. She is my wife. Our business is not for you to meddle in." Leo was surprised by this answer and looked at Rain. Rain's expression was unchanged. "Not for long. We've been separated for 2 years. Our relationship has broken down. I've already filed for divorce with the court. It will be finalized soon." She was too calm, as if she truly didn't care at all. Although Ethan had anticipated what he would face on his way here, seeing Rain's cold indifference and her desire to avoid him, his heart still felt as if it had been pierced by a sword, blood gushing out instantly. "We're not getting a divorce, wifey. We're not getting a divorce. You didn't like Judy, so I got rid of her. Her child has also been taken care of by me. I will never do anything to hurt you again. We'll be fine. I'll make it up to you, It's too late." Leo had wanted to say something, but hearing this, he understood it was a family matter. It was clearly not his place to interfere in Rain and her husband's affairs. Reluctantly, he could only pick up Mia and walk back into the studio, keeping a close watch on the situation outside in case Rain was bullied. "There's no chance for us anymore, Ethan. Be decent. Don't be so clingy." Rain's voice was icy, devoid of any emotion. Only then did Ethan truly understand why they say words are the sharpest knives in the world. Just as Ethan was about to explain, Rain cut him off, staring into his eyes. "You, like this, disgust me. Please don't randomly disturb my life in the future. You're just saying that out of anger. I know, you're just saying it out of anger." But Rain suddenly laughed out loud. "I used to not understand how my husband, who once loved me, could so easily fall for someone else. In the 2 years we've been apart, I've met many people, seen many things, and I've also met someone who makes my heart flutter again. Now I know it's not that hard to fall for someone else." You've fallen for someone else?" Ethan felt as if he had been pierced by 1,000 arrows. In that moment, his chest felt as if it were being consumed by fire, the pain unbearable. "Yes, I've fallen in love with someone else. If you want to witness our love, then stay." Of course, Rain hadn't fallen in love with anyone. She had no interest in relationships now, no desires. She was a bit desensitized to love and marriage. As for her feelings for Leo, there was a bit of a good impression, perhaps. "No, you said it. You said you would always love me. You promised. You also promised you would never betray me." Rain's face was full of sarcasm. "Besides, can you bring my child back to life?" The child was Rain's pain, and a pain that Ethan didn't dare to bring up easily. Ethan stumbled back, his face pale, filled with despair. Yes, there was still an innocent child between them. Rain would never forgive him. He knew Rain well. She was a very stubborn person. Once she made a decision, it was very difficult for anyone to change her mind. That day, Ethan fled in disgrace. He was afraid of being cut to pieces by Rain's cold gaze, afraid of hearing any more about the child. Ethan stayed away for a few days, but it wasn't long before he started showing up at the studio or waiting downstairs at Rain's house every day. Rain was beyond annoyed. Unable to tolerate it any longer, she slapped Ethan hard across the face. "Ethan, don't make me hate you." In that moment, Ethan felt the world go silent. Everything around him froze, but in his ears, Rain's words, "Don't make me hate you," echoed endlessly. When he came to his senses, Rain was gone. The sleepless nights and the constant blows had finally taken their toll. His body could no longer hold up. He collapsed. When he woke up again, his Aunt Luna was sitting beside him. She didn't say much, just handed him a photo. It was a picture of Rain and Leo kissing in a sea of flowers. Ethan's eyes widened in fury, and he struggled to get out of bed. "No, she can't kiss anyone else. She can't. We're not divorced yet, she." Before he could finish, a slap landed on his face. Aunt Luna's chest heaved with anger. "Why not? Why can't she? You did everything with that woman outside, so why can't she do the same? What's more, they are in love, which is far more respectable than your sugar daddy relationship with your assistant." Her words hit Ethan so hard that he coughed up a mouthful of blood. The blood splattered on the photo, a shocking sight. Aunt Luna couldn't bear to look and turned away, but she had to be cruel. She couldn't let Ethan continue this madness. The photo was real, not photoshopped. But it was taken at her request, with Rain and Leo posing to look like they were kissing. Only by making Ethan believe that Rain had fallen for someone else could he truly give up. After a long while, Ethan leaned back against the headboard, gasping for breath, his face ashen, filled with powerlessness and despair. "Aunt Luna, I'm begging you, let her come see me. I want to say goodbye." "Have you decided?" "Yes. I should have understood long ago. She doesn't love me anymore." In fact, before he officially met Rain again, he had been secretly following her for a few days. He had seen Rain and Leo painting together, seen them talking happily. He saw in her eyes a reliance, a joy, and a faint hint of love when she looked at Leo. He had seen that look years ago, when they were still in love. That was how she used to look at him. This new love was just beginning to surface. Perhaps even Rain herself hadn't noticed it yet. After receiving the message from Aunt Luna, Rain decided to go see him. Leo went with her. "I'll go too. Seeing me might help him give up for good." "Okay." They went to the hospital together. Aunt Luna wasn't there. Only Ethan was in the room. When he saw Rain appear, Ethan's dim eyes lit up for a moment, but when he saw Leo behind her, his face turned even paler. "You're here." "Yes, I came to see you." As Rain was speaking, Leo, who was beside her, stepped forward and took her hand. Rain was stunned for a moment, but she didn't refuse. Ethan stared at their intertwined hands, his soul feeling as if it were being torn apart. "I've decided to be with him. I hope you won't bother us anymore." Hearing this, Leo swallowed nervously. Although he knew it was just an act to deal with Ethan, his heart still skipped a beat. Ethan tried to speak several times, but in the end, it was as if he had lost all his strength, even the ability to speak. "Go back home, Ethan. I'm not coming back." Outside the window, the leaves rustled in the wind. The air was heavy, suffocating. After a long time, Ethan finally managed a hoarse, low voice. "Okay." Leo led Rain away. As they walked out of the room, Rain looked back one last time. She saw that Ethan's figure seemed even thinner, more stooped. He was completely enveloped in shadow, untouched by the sunlight streaming in from the window. They had walked a long way, but Leo's hand still hadn't let go, and Rain hadn't said anything. They walked out of the hospital hand in hand. Rain's new life was beginning.